What's up, junkies? Welcome back in for another edition of Pigskin Junkies. Myself, Michael Larson, the big brother, Jared Larson, and the Scott Panza here to talk Week 11. That's right. That's 2 1s. Can't be two number ones, Dale, or else that'd be 11.
It's going too fast, Micah. It's going way too fast right now.
It is. And Jared and I talk about it on the college podcast all the time. It's like you spend so much time just anticipating it, and it's here, and you're basking in it. And you're like, this is so great. And then you blink, and it's gone. You're like, dadgummit.
And then boom, it's November, and it's almost over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's getting to the holiday season. I started booking or starting to mark off all the days for holiday parties I have coming up, and it's going to be hashtag bulking season for sure. It's going to have to transition over to my fat pants because holiday season, it always kicks my butt. Always. Every year I say, this is the year I'm going to take it easy.
Never.
It doesn't ever happen. It does not.
This is the only season that deserves an SZN. This holiday season.
I'm with you there for sure.
Because it's unavoidable. Like, yeah, if you're getting lit on like spring break in April, I can dodge that. But holiday season, there's too many parties. There's too many free cocktails.
Yeah.
It must be consumed. It must be had.
The guy, my buddy, I'm in his wedding, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get sized for my suit now. And then I'm going to go through Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's the week after. It's literally the weekend after Christmas. And I am just going to be stuffed like a Thanksgiving turkey in the suit.
That's bad news for you, my friend.
Yeah, tell the tailor, be like, hey, pal,
Give
me an extra inch.
Give me a few inches where it matters. Oh, man. Brutal. Well, do we want to get into this slate, or do we want to keep talking about holiday?
Let's do it.
Season.
Let's light the candle.
See, at least though, when you live in the north, you're like, well, it keeps me warm in the winter. In Florida, it's like, I'm just fat. There's no escape. It's brutal. But anywho, the Thursday night game, the Browns at home, favored -3 against the somehow still alive Pittsburgh Steelers.
I was really impressed with that Steelers pass rush against the Rams this past weekend, and I think they'll do something similar to Baker Mayfield against this Browns offensive line. I'll take the 3, no conviction, no play. Only action I will have is on the under in that one. Ugly game. Will not be tuning in. I will be at the Garden for Kristaps Porzingis' return to the Garden. Can't wait to hear him get booed, but he's going to light it up against the Knicks. So that's where I'll be watching. No real interest in watching that game, but I think the Steelers win outright.
You can't boo the unicorn.
I hope they don't, because he doesn't deserve to get booed. But Knicks fans will be booing him for sure.
Knicks are the worst. So this is a football podcast, but the Knicks are the worst organization in the association.
Would you be willing to say professional sports?
Not quite, but they're in the conversation.
Hey, the Garden still rocks. I went to Bulls Knicks a few weeks ago. Let me tell you, that was an ugly game. Garden was rocking.
That can't be your only saving grace. Like, hey, we have a cool arena. Your team bites. When you win 18 games a year, I don't care how rocking your stadium is.
This is a football podcast.
It's a football podcast. You're right. This isn't a football podcast. No opinion here. You guys know about our rules as it pertains to the contest. I mean, this is Barftown, USA. Like, laying 3 points with the Cleveland Browns is the same reason we took the Bills last week. But if I'm staying true to myself, divisional game, short week, at home. For me, it's Cleveland or pass. I will probably be passing. There's no interest. I mean, I'll be watching because it's football, but I will not have a wager on this game.
Next up, the Roar was restored for about a couple days. But that roar is now taking on the Cowboys at home, and the Cowboys are road favorites, -6.5.
Two coaches I don't want to bet on right now, and a quarterback for sure, and Jeff Driscoll. Wow, he sounds like a terrific fella. Can't have too much confidence in him, so this is a very hard pass in this game. I would lean Lions because, much like the Titans, I can't escape the Lions this year. 6.5 points at home just feels disrespectful, even with Jeff Driscoll, especially from what we saw on Sunday Night Football from Jason Garrett, the excellent head coach. So I will lean Lions, but I think it actually could be a Zeke feast game. But total pass on this one.
Yeah, friend of the podcast, Jeff Driscoll. I want to get there so hard with the 6.5, and I can't do it. Game is off the board as it pertains to the betting markets. I'll pass here. If I'm playing anything, it's going to be the Lions. I really can't get there with the Cowboys. Jason Garrett, that's so funny to me. We joke about the clap and everything is fine. I saw a meme earlier, or a GIF or whatever the hell it's called, earlier this week of the "it's fine" and the fire's everywhere, but it's Garrett doing his dumbass clap. The fact that Jerry Jones, to me, still has Jason Garrett employed as the head coach of this team is mind-boggling. I think he should have fired him 2 years ago, but he still has him. And I expect them to continue to underperform with him at the helm. So if you're going to give me 6 points, 6.5 points at home, I'll take the Lions. Not a play in the contest, but look, people want picks, so I'll give them the Lions.
I was going to drop a Blades of Glory quote in there, but I'm going to keep moving along. The Saints, after a surprising beatdown last week that they received at the hands of the red-hot Atlanta Falcons, they are now traveling to Tampa Bay to take on Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coming off a big win, but the Saints are -5.5.
I mean, I gave the Saints the kiss of death by actually betting on them last week, and of course they lost. I lean the Bucs here. I think without Lattimore in the secondary, it could be now. Jameis Winston makes all sorts of mistakes, and he'll definitely turn the ball over a few times. But I actually think this has some potential to be a really high-scoring game, and the Bucs can cover this number. Saints haven't had too much success traveling to Tampa Bay in recent years. Remember last year, Ryan Fitzmagic had that monster game against the Saints. He put up like 50 points on them. So I'll take the Bucs here, +5.5 in division, home dog. I'm sure people will be hopping all over the Saints. And if I look at it right now, 57% of the bets are on the Saints so far. So actually, I thought the number would be higher. I'll take the Bucs, but it makes me want to puke to bet on Jameis.
Yeah, agree here. This line reeks. Everyone and their sister is going to be on the Saints, which means take the Bucs. Jameis, Barftown, USA. I'm going to tell you how this game script is going to work.
Let me tell you.
Bucs. I tell you what, man. Bucs are going to jump out to a huge lead in the first quarter, towards the middle of the second, and they're going to just absolutely puke it in the second half. Jameis probably throw 2 picks in the second half alone, but they'll lose by 3 or 4 and cover the number. I've seen this script, unfortunately, from this team 1,000 times. Divisional game, take the points. Everyone and their sister is going to be on the Saints. Take the dog.
Next, Panthers, and I'm not even going to say Panthers anymore. Falcons traveling to Carolina to take on Christian McCaffrey, -5.5.
Oh, like it. I love it. Love the Panthers.
You got to have it.
Always outperform at home. Falcon just won their Super Bowl. by beating the Saints off the bye. Anticipate a letdown game. They got a ton of injuries there. Matt Ryan did not practice today. It's Wednesday. He's battling that ankle injury. They got no Devonta Freeman, so it's all Brian Hill. The Panthers have been getting gouged on the ground, but I don't think Brian Hill is going to be the answer. I really like this Panthers defense. I really like their pass rush. The Falcons O-line played out of their minds last week. I don't anticipate it happening for a second week in a row. And historically, Falcons always torched by running backs. Christian McCaffrey should feast in this one, lay the 5.5.
Front ways, back ways, sideways, up ways, down ways. Wonkavator. Panthers.
Ooh.
Minus 5.5. Ultimate sell high spot on the Falcons. They had a 1-game high mark that they always play well in New Orleans division game. Now they got to go back on the road again against, again, I mentioned it on the recap pod last week. Kyle Allen, gamer. I think this is a opportunity to sell pretty low on the Panthers based on the last couple weeks. And I will lay the 5.5 happily at home here against an inept Falcons team.
We got a divisional matchup between two teams that could easily win the division but don't want to, and that is the Colts at home minus 2.5 versus Gardner Minshew and the Nick Foles.
Nick Foles
and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Upways, sideways, every which way. Nick Foles and the Jags off the bye against the T.Y. Hilton-less Colts. Love it. Love this spot for the Jags off the bye. Great pass rush. Now, their weakness is always recently has been their linebacker play, but I think their defensive line will stop Marlon Mack, and you still don't know if Jacoby Brissett is going to be a go. So if I get Brian Hoyer again, I love it. I love the possibilities there. So Jags favorite bet of the weekend, Wonkavator.
Wow. Yeah. No play for me. Too much uncertainty with the Colts. Brian Hoyer did not look very impressive last week. And as I've said a couple times, I like the trend of this team, but with Jacoby Brissett out and several injuries across the line, as Scotty mentioned, T.Y. Hilton, this will be a hard pass for me as it pertains to Jaguars and Colts.
Next on the docket, Kirk Cousins back in his normal spot at a noon kick, which I'm going to try and find the stat, but you'll like this. It's not even like prime time Kirk. It's just not noon kick Kirk. Like noon kick versus any other time, two totally different people, except for last Sunday. But Vikings at home, 10.5 versus the Broncos.
It doesn't sound like Adam Thielen will be a go in this one. I think it's going to be a Chris Harris on Stephon Diggs. So who's going to be doing the damage for the Vikings? It's going to be Dalvin Cook or bust. I will take the Broncos in the 10.5 points. Brandon Kelly did not look awful against the Browns. And I think that they'll be able to score enough points to keep this close. I don't think it will be a blowout and a little bit of a potential letdown spot for the Vikings coming off that Sunday night road win. I'll take the 10.5.
You like that?
You like that?
Hey, I have Kirk Cousins in all my best ball leagues. I love Kirk Cousins. I'm rooting for the Vikings and Dalvin Cook. Just too many points.
Was the you like that a Sunday night thing? I feel like it was. Or was it a normal day game? I don't know. Anyways, no opinion here. I made this 9.5. Candidly, as my number would indicate, I was surprised to see double digits here with the Vikings. I agree with Scott. I think it's kind of a flat spot coming home against a mediocre Broncos team. But Kirky in that noon spot usually performs pretty well. So no real interest here. I expect this to be a pretty heavily bet public game. Vikings minus 10.5, but I don't really see a side here that makes any sense to me, so I'll pass.
Kirk's numbers at home, pretty scary, if I do say so myself. Next game on the docket, Redskins at home -1 against the Jets. Jets.
This line reeks. Redskins are favored by 1. I don't get it. They stink. Dwayne Haskins is terrible. Jets are bust, but I want no piece of either one of these dumpster fires.
Puke, pass. If you bet this game, you are a sick bastard. Go to the casino, like flip coins for money, dude, instead. Or go to the casino and play blackjack.
Play the slots.
End of story.
Hey, blackjack is a game of skill.
Okay. So is betting Jets Redskins, but that's it. It teeters on the line of truth. If you're betting this game, call 1-800-GAMBLER. It's over for you.
The first step is admitting you have a problem.
Yeah, there's no edge here. You're done.
Next on the docket, the Bills and the wagon traveling south to Miami to take on the suddenly red-hot Dolphins.
Oh, my goodness. I love the Bills in this spot. Off the road loss against the Browns. Coming back, divisional foe, Dolphins, 2 straight wins. Defense is actually playing pretty good. But Ryan Fitzpatrick's really struggled last week without a whole lot of weapons. I think Kalen Ballage is definitely not the answer at running back. I think this is a great spot for the Bills. First, to get me my over 6.5 wins. But secondly, I think this is just a game for them to just run all over this Dolphins team. Dolphins just been torched on the ground all season. They just couldn't get it going last week, the Colts, against this defense, which is just, I think, more of a function of Brian Hoyer and not not having T.Y. Hilton. But Bills fully healthy. They have 2 guys on the injury report right now, and they're not players of consequence. They will get after Ryan Fitzpatrick. They'll make it very uncomfortable for him. I think that they will be awakened for this game because when they played them at home, the Dolphins gave them everything that they could handle. Love the Bills in this spot. I'm laying the 6.
So as it pertains to this individual game, I will not be taking a side. I'll be passing. As Scott said, I will be cheering for the Bills to win outright, as our over 6.5 tickets can potentially cash this weekend. And for those of you new listeners, 1, thank you for listening. 2, in 2020, this game in 2020 will be the official Pigskin Junkies weekend in Miami when the Bills come to town. I don't know when it's going to be, but we'll get all the personal nonsense out of the way this year, and the Junkies will be potentially live showing from Miami next year. As long as none of the wives are impregnated.
Cross my heart, hope to die.
But between then and now.
All right. I just found this out. I'm learning something new on the podcast.
I'm making declarations. I'm
getting
independent.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm going to book my flight now.
Scott's going to book his flight now, and so should all of you.
The battle of the 2 future quarterback stars, or the now anointed future stars of the NFL, minus Mahomes, and that is the Ravens -4 and Lamar Jackson versus the Texans and Deshaun Watson, who am I hearing rumors he might not be playing?
That's fake news.
Okay, good.
Where'd you hear that?
I hear things. A lot of things just kind of rattle around in these rocks that I call my brain.
I did not hear that. I thought he was a full participant today in practice from what I saw. But if you know something I don't know, I already bet this game. And I already bet it because one, I like to torture myself by betting against Lamar Jackson this year. But 2, this line is so freaking fishy. It's so low. Ravens up 2 extremely impressive wins in big fashion at home against the Texans and only laying 4. I imagine this will be a huge public spot on the Ravens. I will be all over the Texans. 38% of bets on the Texans, and the line is moving down. I think Texans went outright off the bye, and it's a come to earth weekend for the Ravens.
Yeah, I agree with Scott 100%. As I was watching the Ravens plow the Patriots, I said I cannot wait to fade them, whoever they play the next week, so long as it's a respectable team. I had not looked at the schedule yet. Texans off the bye, great team. Of course, the let's call it caveat here is Deshaun Watson, but certainly I will be grabbing some 4 here and looking to add to this position if and when the line goes up, because I expect, as Scott indicated, Ravens will be a huge, huge, huge public spot here, and I will take the Texans. Nearly made the Wonkavator, just missed by a hair.
Another divisional matchup, and the 49ers no longer undefeated, but minus 11 at home against the Cardinals.
Cardinals 7-3 against the spread so far this season. I've been riding them quite frequently this year. This spot will be no different. No George Kittle, it sounds like. No Breida. Staley off their offensive line. He's going to be out a few weeks. So a lot of injuries for the 49ers. Short week against a Cards team that can score. I mean, just way too many points. But it could be a square dog here. But I'll take the Cards just getting this many points. They just gave him a game a few weeks ago on Thursday night. So I'll take the 11.
Yeah, I agree with Scott. Number is exactly the same as what it was a couple of weeks ago on Thursday night at home for the Cardinals. Now they travel to the 49ers, and I will take that same number. Full disclosure, I've been dead wrong on San Francisco pretty much the whole year. So, I have a read on this team. Jimmy G has been giving me the business for now. Like, I know what's going on, but for me, in division, short week, as Scott alluded to, for me, it's Cardinals or pass.
Kyler Murray got to dap up LeBron James at the Suns-Lakers game, and everyone is freaking out about it. Big news there in the cross-platform of sports. I figure I'd tie in basketball again.
I was like, Kyler's at the Oklahoma game. He's at the basketball game. Scott's going to flip out here in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, it was a Monday night. It was in Phoenix. I don't blame him. Sounds like a great time. Go see the Lakers. Phoenix is actually playing some good hoops this year.
They
I know
got,
you guys care.
Yeah, I know.
Can I quick tangent on college basketball for a second?
Yeah.
My alma mater had a big win tonight against UConn. Huge win for the program in the first year of a new coach. But I reminded myself why.
Did you go?
No.
Did you go?
It was in Connecticut. I was thinking about going, but it's just too much of a pain in the butt. But I wish I did. But the problem with college basketball is breathe on a guy, it's a foul. It was torture watching this game. College basketball, it's worse than college football. And my distaste for college football. So keep your pageantry.
Whoa. Easy.
Yeah. And be fighting words.
Oh, man. You
liked that tweet, didn't you?
I did like it. It was good. I was getting so frustrated watching this game. Just, everyone's fouling out. It was awful.
Yeah.
But big win for the school. Hawk will never die.
Next, Scotty's Pats minus 3.5 going to Philadelphia.
Oh, whenever I'm really nervous about a Pats game, it means hammer them. It's going to be a huge public square side off the bye. Give me the Pats, lay the 3.5. I don't know. It's just revenge Super Bowl narrative. Carson Wentz has, I'm a huge Carson Wentz truther here, but without Deshaun Jackson, they've really struggled opening up the field, and this Pats defense is going to be an angry defense after what they put up against the Ravens. So I will lay the 3.5.
This Eagles team is very different at home than they are on the road. I don't know. I was willing to bet it at the Ravens last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. I don't feel that same vibe with the Eagles that I do with the Ravens. I I tend to agree with Scott. I probably won't bet this, or maybe if I do, you'll hear about it on Twitter. But I would lean Patriots in this spot. I think this is a get-right game for them. It's a disrespect spot. As I said, I'm not super bullish on the Eagles this year. I don't know that I'm willing to lay 3 and a hook on the road in a revenge spot, as Scott said. Feels kind of like a square spot to me here, but I don't know. We'll post something later. I haven't fully formulated my thoughts on this game. I need to get a little bit more info first.
That's fair. Information is always good. Next, Chucky out here getting the Raiders ready to rock and roll. Yeah, I will say it was kind of sad to see him after that game last week interacting with all the fans and then thinking, he's gone. Like, this team's going to Las Vegas next year. Right? Next year or a year or two? Whatever.
Next year.
So
that actually, I think the whole Bills-Dolphins thing might have to get scrapped because official Pigskin Junkies weekend might be in Vegas instead.
A second thought, it might be...
Second thought, 10 minutes later. Scratch that.
If we can go to the Knights game Saturday night. Ooh, yeah. Anyway, that's talking hockey with Micah.
What's that? Is that a sport? Yeah, okay.
Anywho, those Raiders are taking on the Bungles at home. So, in the black hole, Raiders minus 10.5.
I mean, if you watch that Bengals game last week, they are just a total dumpster fire. Zach Taylor could be a one-and-done head coach. So lay the 10.5 with this Raiders team. I'm a believer in Chucky getting it right in the second year. He's really impressed me this season. And this team, they're alive because the Chiefs are 6-4. They're standing at 6-4. The Chargers 5-5. And the Raiders are right in the thick of the playoff race. So I think this is a must-win spot for them. And also last year they traveled to the Bengals. It was actually a massive public spot, and they lost on the road. So I think that game will stick in their mind, and they will get right in this one and just blow the doors off this Bengals team that's just total dog shit.
Yeah, I agree with Scotty. I look at this number and I said the Raiders are laying double digits. Like, that just is begging for people to take the Bengals. I mean, Ryan Finley had a decent stat line last week, but I think he's significantly behind the curve as it pertains to being an NFL quarterback, still a first-year guy. I mean, look, they benched Andy Dalton. I think the Bengals are becoming what everyone thought the Miami Dolphins were going to be as it relates to tanking. This team is not good at all, and I expect the Raiders to lay the lumber here. So I, too, will be laying the points, which I'm kind of allergic to. The fact that I'm saying out loud I'm going to lay double digits with the Oakland Raiders makes me throw up a little bit in my mouth, but that's usually in the NFL when I want to say that. It makes me feel better about the bets that I'm making.
Jared, I have awesome news for you. 2020 Oakland Raiders Vegas Raiders at home will be playing the Buffalo Bills. That's your Pigskin Junkies weekend.
That is, yes. Whatever I said about Miami weekend, scrap that. That's 2021 because we know that's going to happen. Buffalo Bills at Vegas Raiders. Lock it in, boys and girls. It's going to be go time.
Scott, do they have a date assigned for that yet?
No, they don't.
Not
they just have
August or something.
They just yeah.
Shit. Or is it April? When do they release?
It's a bad beat because the Pats do have the Raiders next year, but the Pats play them at home. So.
Oh, Scotty would have been so fired up for that if they had played them in Vegas. Buffalo Bills in Vegas. I mean, you can't ask for anything better.
Bills Mafia.
Bills Mafia is going to be going nuts.
We're going to go to the airport, land, buy 67 folding tables, and take them all to the parking lot.
I mean, jumping off Caesar's Palace, just crushing tables.
I'm going to be can opening from the top of the Mandalay Bay all the way down.
Oh, man. Speaking of the Raiders, that Khalil Mack trade that everyone, including myself, I mean, I'll say it, thought that was the worst trade in the history of football is really starting to pan out in the Raiders' favor and coming out on top there with the Bears continuing to spiral. And the Bears are traveling to the Coliseum to take on the Rams. And the Rams are favored by 6.5.
Yeah, hard pass on this one. I lean Bears. They beat the Rams in LA last year. No, they beat the Rams at home last year. I think that the Rams offensive line is just so banged up right now. They lost Whitworth. They lost their center who's done for the season, I think. So a weak offensive line is even weaker by playing their backups against a pass rush that is not to be messed with, as bad as Mitch Trubisky is and how turnover prone he is. 6.5 points is just too many. The Bears defense could score 2 touchdowns themselves. So I will take the Bears in this spot. And I think they actually went outright.
One, great transition, Micah.
Thank you.
Well done there. Raiders to Bears, Khalil Mack. 2, I am extremely happy that the Titans are on bye week this week, so I don't have to pick one of their games. Thank God. Because I can't seem to figure that team out. 3, as it pertains to this game, I belabored the point earlier this week on the recap show about how I do not trust or respect the Los Angeles Rams offense. And so to see them laying 6.5, in some instances 7 points, to me makes no sense. Despite the fact that Mitchell Trubisky is on my short list of terrible quarterbacks in the NFL and a complete ineptitude as it pertains to scoring points, I will take the 6.5 because of exactly what Scott said. I think the defense puts them in enough situations where they can score 9, 14, 20, 17, somewhere in that area. And as such, I think they'll be able to contain the Rams offense and stay inside the 6.5. Obviously, I would love 7 here, better than 6.5. But I'll take the Bears to cover the number off of a couple puke fests over the last few weeks.
Friendly reminder that Trubisky was a Pro Bowler last year.
Sucks. The guy sucks.
I mean, talk about
everyone
falling
makes the
from
Pro
grace.
Bowl now because all the good players, if they make the team, they just say they're hurt and they don't go.
Why don't they want to come
true.
to Orlando? It's so much fun down here.
Basically, if you're a starter, you make the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. And you're not playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're an upper 2/3 starter, you make the Pro Bowl now,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And that's why nobody cares. No, all they
You are
care
correct,
about
sir.
in the Pro Bowl is like dodgeball and I don't
All
even
the
know,
other stuff.
yeah, like the dumb games. Yeah, stupid. And then there's the Monday night game, which is Chargers Chiefs, but we won't talk about that until the recap show on Sunday. So, fellas, you got any other NFL news that you want to talk about?
No.
No. Exactly.
Let's get to week 11. I'm pumped for this Pats-Eagles game. It's going to be an exciting one. And also Texans-Ravens. I think some juicy matchups this weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun. I think it's a good card this week, or a good lineup of games where you have a game or two you can watch pretty much in every time window. So, with some implications on them.
I was going to say solid NFL week. I mean, that with 32 teams or whatever it is, you're not going to have awesome games all the time. But I feel like the Thursday night game is good. You got a couple of games in the 1 o'clock window that's pretty good. You got a couple of late games that are pretty good. And then the Sunday night game and the Monday night game are both good. As I mentioned before, the Monday night game has been we'll call it a grind. So we are going to Mexico for Chargers and Chiefs, and can't wait to talk about that. I want on Sunday. The Estadio Azteca will be housing this game, which they tried to do last year, and it didn't work out for a myriad of reasons. But I'll be quite enthused to watch a couple really good teams hammer it out in Mexico. We'll talk about that more on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, fellas, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Pigskin Junkies. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you on Sunday.
Airborne, Mitchell Goosen.
Jody Foster.